Hello, my name is Veronica LeBeau-Bushee, but most people call me Ronnie. This is my interpersonal communication project for Liberty University's course HSCO 508. Slide. I'm studying for my master's in human services with a concentration on addiction and recovery. I presently work at a men's halfway house in Massachusetts, and I'm preparing myself to be ready to become the program or clinical director for a substance abuse program. Slide. I'm 65 years old, which means I'm telling you, it's never too late to follow your dream. I'm married. I have 3 children and 4 granddaughters. Slide. My overarching goals is one, to become a level 1 listener. And what that is, it's an empathetic listener. It's being able to hear someone talk to me from their point of view without my own prejudices or preconceptions muddying up the conversation. I'd also want to become more effective as a counselor by applying the interpersonal communication skills that I learned in this class. And that is experiencing the other while still maintaining myself. In other words, although I can listen empathetically, I don't have to take their point of view as my own. I can still maintain my own individuality. And thirdly, I'd like to be able to enlarge the conversation between me and my clients, which is a very important thing, to be able to ask them questions, to listen to what they have to say, to bring the conversation, bring them out of their shell, to be able to discover what it is actually that makes them tick. Part of enlarging the conversation is inspiring them to be candid and open with me. Slide. Early on in this 8 weeks, the first 2 weeks, we did what is called a personality synopsis. And he was using the DISC model, D-I-S-C. The D stands for it's active and it's task oriented. And it's for people whose personalities are directing, determined, and doing. The I is also active, but it's people oriented. And it concerns those personalities that are inspiring, interactive, and influencing. The S is passive, but it's also people-oriented. And the S denotes stability, security, steadiness, and a specialist. And the C stands for, it's also passive, but it's task-oriented. And it stands for those who are competent, careful, and contemplative. Slide. This graph is the graph of me. We did 2 graphs. One is how others see me, and the other is actually who I am. So I'm including the one that's who I am. And as you can see, my D, I, and S are very close to each other, which makes me well-rounded. But my C is pronounced. I'm more C than anything else, which means I'm more competent, and I'm more passive, and I am more task oriented, which enables me to be a team player as well as be able to not take control of situations that I can't handle. The DIS with the combination there makes me well-rounded and a team player. Slide. I am a CDS personality blend, which means that I can do anything I put my mind to. I rather speak to smaller groups than large crowds. I'm assertive rather than aggressive. I influence others and show concern for others. Sometimes I don't care what other people think about what I am or what I'm doing. And then other times I can be very sensitive about it. I stand out, but I don't seek attention. I don't need to be center of attention. I need to work on my friendliness and my charisma. So, in essence, I'm a combination of cautious, stable, determined. I'm task oriented, but I do care about people, particularly on an individual basis. Slide. My communication barriers is that before I began this class, I had a lot of communication and listening errors, one of which was critical. I was just very critical. If someone said something to me and I didn't agree with it, I would criticize the person and not what they were saying. I'm also directing, or was directing. In other words, my way is the way to do it, and every other way is not going to be sufficient. I also was a specialist because I know a lot about what my field is. I would complete people's thoughts before they would finish saying. So I knew what they were going to say, and I reacted upon an assumption. These were listening errors that I have learned to correct during this course. Slide. My research, my resources and strategies. One is the talker listening card. I really think that is a great way, particularly where there's conflict or particularly where there's high-spirited conversation. It's talking without accusing, attacking, or labeling, and it's listening without agreeing, disagreeing, or advising. Slide. Another resource is learning to listen. One is avoiding communication traps. Some of them are either ritual listening, asking for one-word answers, and what was referred to is Perry Mason's, which is asking questions that you know the answer to. That brings sarcasm into the equation. This is by Burley and Allen. The techniques is how to listen better techniques. Peterson introduced 33 how to listen better techniques, some of which I have written down on an index card for reference. Slide. Again, continuing with learning to listen. I can't emphasize too much how important listening at a level 1 is, particularly in my field. I deal with clients that come in on a regular basis. We have clients that may be with us a month or two. Some stay the 6 months, but in the meantime, while they're there, they grow. And as they grow, I need to listen to their growth, listen to their need, and be able to support them from where their vantage point is. And I need to listen to the whole message and not assume what they're going to say and begin to respond to what I think they're saying, but allow them to complete their thought. Slide. My action plan. One is to use the TLC card. It's one thing to be aware of it. It was one thing to know how to use it, to know what it is. But it's another thing to actually physically cut out the card from the back of the book and use it or make your own. That's a very important thing, particularly in conflict, and it can save a marriage. Again, listen at a level 1, not just hear what someone is saying, but watch their body language. Be able to perceive the entire message. Watch their eyes, how they shift. Watch their hands. Watch their body, which way they're moving, whether they're slumping over or whether they're standing up straight. And be aware of how to listen better techniques. Slide. My action plan continues with empathetic listening. It goes on to analyze what is being said non-verbally and hold the rebuttal. One of my major listening errors was to speak too soon, is to cut in, not allowing someone to finish their idea. I've learned not to do that. I've learned to be patient and to listen to the entire conversation before I have a rebuttal. And my conclusion slide. This has been an extraordinary journey for these last 8 weeks in interpersonal communication. I've learned so much during these 8 weeks, and I intend to refer to the how to listen techniques that I have on a card and being able to take my learning into my real life. I have assimilated many of the techniques and I use them every day. It has made me a better counselor and co-worker and has made me a better wife and mother. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I wish everybody a blessing.